Hello and welcome to a training on the high performance pyramids, the making of a corporate athlete. Over the next 30 to 45 minutes, we're going to jump in to 4 levels of the pyramids, understanding how you can start to improve your energy levels, your consistency, your motivation, but also just improve your overall wellness as well in a corporate environment. And look, this is designed for the kind of clients that I coach, primarily directors, VPs, and the C.E.O who are operating at a certain level. So without further ado, let's jump into it. Okay, so high performance pyramids, as I said, making of the modern day corporate athlete. This is how you can build strength and resilience, so you can perform better with more passion for longer, right? And look, the things that we want to avoid here are burnout, weight gain, right, and increased stress, which are all markers that senior successful professionals will face into at some point, or the majority of senior successful professionals will face into at some point. So on the right hand side, we've obviously got the 4 levels. We're going to jump into those in a little bit more detail, and also just there some of the transformations that a number of my clients on Reignite Pro have gone through. So we're faced with a number of different challenges, right? A number of different personal challenges in today's workplace, and these are the 4 main ones, right? As you start to go higher and higher in an organization, or maybe you're the founder of an organization that's growing, there's more stress, there's more work pressure, and the responsibility that you have for deadlines increases. Now, coupled with that, there tends to be lower energy levels as people have less focus on their health, and not just physical health. We're talking here about emotional, mental health as well, right? So as there's less focus on holistic health outcomes, energy levels start to dip, and motivation, perhaps not in work, but motivation in other areas starts to dip. So for example, health priorities, maybe consistency in social priorities, or some connection priorities, relationship priorities, they start to suffer. And what that then causes is a bit of a blurring of work-life boundaries, right? We live in an age where there doesn't need to be so much of a delineation, but as work starts to encroach upwards into the beginning of the day and downwards into the end of the day, that means that the other things that you might value in your life, you might find important in your life, you start to lack the time to prioritize for those. And as a result of that, there's a loss in true connection. And what these 4 things lead to is a lower level of personal performance. So what are we talking about? Well, we're introducing the high performance pyramid, which is a tried and tested blueprint that 113 of my personal clients have used to build strength and resilience so that they can perform better, right? And as you start to implement this system, it allows you to look, feel, and perform better. And look, this is a bit sort of tongue-in-cheek, right? But obtain more energy from the bedroom to the boardroom, right? It's just, it encapsulates all the different areas of your life and the benefits that you'll have from obtaining more energy in them. So what are you going to learn over the next sort of 20, 30 minutes or so? Well, you're going to learn the 4 key levels of the pyramid, right? You're going to understand how they form a blueprint or system for success that you can actually apply to your own work or life, right? This isn't just a theoretical concept. I want you to actually have some tangibles to take away. And then numerous practical tools that you can actually apply to your own life. And again, start to get some benefit from as early as this week, right? Or starting to plan this out as a system that you can then build on, as early as next week. So for those that haven't met me before, haven't seen me, I'm Alex Carter. I am an elite health and performance coach. I work with VPs, directors, and C.E.O, primarily in the UK and USA, but I do have a number of international clients, past and present. My signature system is called the CEO method. And that stands for clarity, energy, and optimization, which are the 3 stages of transformation. Clarity, getting really clear on one's vision and where they want to go, the direction. Energy, energizing both the mind and the body and making sure that they are in alignment with those goals. And then optimization, which just means 2 things: increasing the intensity on things that you know and are proven to work for holistic health measures, and then reflection, right? Looking at what went well, what could you do better, and just reflecting on a past period so that you can then start again, right? And then the clarity phase begins again. So the CEO method is a circular or secular system. And my job, right, is to make successful professionals, already successful professionals that are doing well in their careers, just gain that additional unfair advantage by looking, feeling, and performing better. A little bit about me. It's me and little wee man, my son Hector. He's 8 months old now. So I'm an ex-FTSE 100 executive. I've done a lot of work for BT, RS, some of those big companies down there. I now have a coaching and consultancy business where I run my high performance coaching business, and then I consult as an operations director into another coaching business. But at heart, I am a challenge enthusiast. So what sort of gets me out of bed is, don't ask me why, right? But is kind of pushing myself physically in things like Ironman, 100-mile run. I did a month-long triathlon, decided to do white collar boxing, amateur bodybuilding. So that's kind of what gets me going outside of the work that I do. And my wife, long-suffering wife, the backbone to our family unit is Victoria, the wonderful Victoria. We've been married for 2 or 3 years now. You should probably know this. But we've been together for about 9 years, and we actually went to school together. So whilst we weren't childhood sweethearts, we don't have that background. We were very good friends at school, and we kind of reconnected much further down the line after university. I don't think it would have worked otherwise. So look, that's a bit about me. That's not Victoria. That's my lovely mum in the picture, and my son Hector. So the 4 levels of the high performance pyramid, what are they? Well, working from the bottom up, level 1 is physical capacity, which allows you to just build endurance. If you think about, athletes in the conventional sense, those track and field athletes, or those sports people, right? They have to have a base level of fitness to perform their chosen sport. Now, if your chosen sport is business, you need to have a base level of physical endurance that will allow you to then get to the next level. So promoting that mental and emotional recovery. So the next level up is emotional capacity, right? Which is your ability to tolerate stress, is your ability to process certain emotions. The 3rd level then is your mental capacity, which focuses on your ability to deal with certain thoughts and channel focus into any given task for a sustained, prolonged period of time. And the final level, I call it spiritual capacity, but it's more, let's think of it in terms of energetic capacity, right? So this is understanding your vision, your values, your belief structures, and making sure that they are aligned in the right direction. Because if they're not, then you don't have that extra internal energy to pull you towards a higher performance level, and you're left with motivation and consistently having to push. So those are the 4 levels of the high performance pyramid. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into each one and just talk about some of the tools and systems in a bit more detail, right? So that you've got something to take away at the end of this. So the first one, physical capacity, is about, as I said, building the foundations to tolerate more stress and drive holistic health benefits. So if we look at the 4 parts of physical capacity, there is, of course, an exercise component. And for me, the way in which I structure this is using something called the Anytime, Anywhere framework. And that is having a program of exercises, a systematic program of exercises that is aligned to your goal, built on principles like progressive overload, as in it gets harder for you as you get stronger and fitter. But the most important thing is that it's adaptable to your environment. So if you're traveling and you're staying in hotels, don't worry, we got you, right? If you've got access to a gym at home, or you go to a commercial gym, don't worry, we got you, right? So it's about having the right exercise programs at your fingertips, even if you've got 10 minutes, 5 minutes, an hour for you to do some sort of workout. And generally, what I do for my clients who are looking for increased energy and weight loss as two predominant outcomes, we'll look at HIIT, high intensity interval training, which is going to boost your testosterone by as much as 18%, decrease your cortisol levels by as much as 30%, recent studies have found. We're going to look at lower intensity steady state cardiovascular work, which just generally people tend to enjoy, in my experience, a little bit more. It might be related to running, cycling, swimming, rowing, right? Any of those kind of lower intensity steady state sports. Resistance training, which is going to improve your posture. It's going to reduce your chance of osteoporosis. It's going to increase your telomere length, right, in your DNA, which can lead to increased longevity. And it's also going to physically strengthen you. But also introduce two additional concepts called morning movement and the minimum threshold, which is every morning just having a minimum threshold of movement that you do. Now, it could be that if you're starting out, you're just going for a walk, right? Just increasing your step count. You're starting to wake the body up, and all of the waste that's happened or occurred during sleep as the body's repaired itself, which is stored in the lymphatic system, in your glands in your neck, your armpits and your groin, just getting that moving so you don't feel groggy, right? So for me personally, my minimum threshold is 100 burpees or 50 burpees, 50 press-ups, 50 squats. That has to be done every morning. That's something that I owe to myself. And I get my clients to, maybe if they've progressed from just going out for a walk, they might do something similar, but just at a lower intensity volume to begin with. And then paying the piper. So for anyone that enjoys a drink, if you have more than 2 or 3 drinks, introducing a rule to yourself. Again, you owe yourself 30 minutes of cardio, right? It's condition you A, don't drink as much, but B, it's also just getting any of those toxins out of the body quicker so that you can rebound and recharge and reset, and then come back stronger with increased levels of performance. So that's kind of on the exercise side. Obviously, again, if we think about physical capacity in the conventional sense, there is a nutrition component. And what I use with my clients is a lifestyle management protocol that I've developed called conscious consistency, or the conscious consistency principle. What it's not is a diet. Right? A diet presupposes a start and an end point, and generally a significant overhaul into the way in which you eat. What I found in my experience is diets, say what you will about them, but what happens after the diet is the most important thing. So when someone says to me, oh, I've lost, I lost 2 stone on keto. Cool, awesome. Well, how much do you weigh now? Well, I put it all back on and then a bit after I came off the diet. Cool. You didn't really lose it then, right? I'm not being harsh, but you get my point. What we need really is a lifestyle management system for sustained performance, rather than just actually a diet that's going to cause you to lose weight in the short term. And that, for me, has 10 key components. So there's an awareness to start with, just bringing more conscious awareness to what and how and when you're eating. After that is hydration. So we want to make sure that you're drinking 3 liters, up to 3 liters of water a day, which for a lot of people, this might sound quite a lot, but this is in studies that have found you tend to perform better at this level of hydration. It's also going to help you improve mental focus. It's going to give you holistic health benefits. And it's also going to mean that at rest, you'll burn more stored fat rather than using carbohydrate as an energy source. So a number of different reasons why you want to be drinking water. And the way in which I do this is I just get my clients to buy a big 2-liter bottle. They have a pint in the morning, they get through that bottle throughout the day, and they have a pint in the evening. And that is their 3 liters done. Don't eat late is another principle of conscious consistency. If you think about the digestive system, it generally takes an hour and a half, 2 hours to digest a meal, depending on the size, and also the speed of your metabolism. But let's just say that's a rough order of magnitude. If you're eating just before you go to bed, it's then eating into your physical repair time. So you end up waking up feeling groggy, feeling a little bit sluggish. So a general rule is have your last meal of the day 2 hours before your head hits the pillow. Increase protein, right? So you want protein for two main reasons. One, to rebuild broken down muscle fibers. So as you exercise, you put micro tears in the actin and myosin filaments, and then these are rebuilt with available proteins. So you want to make sure that you've got adequate protein for that muscle resynthesis, but also you want protein from a satiety and balanced energy perspective. So protein, being a more complex molecule, tends to make you feel fuller for longer. It takes longer to break down in the stomach and then in the gut and intestinal system. So what I tend to find that most people do is when they start looking at their nutrition and their diet in a bit more detail, is they've got too many simple carbohydrates and not enough protein. So try and get more protein. And again, if you're looking at tracking, like at least 100 grams of protein per day. Stay on top of hunger. So there's two types of hunger: emotional hunger and physical hunger. Emotional hunger is sudden. It's for a specific food type. Physical hunger is slow, gradual, creeping, right? So we want to make sure that if we are hungry, it's not emotional hunger that we are listening to, not those cues, but it's physical hunger. And the way in which we can stay on top of both of those is to eat regular meals. So that doesn't mean skipping breakfast, right? Unless you are on an intermittent fasting protocol. We'll talk a little bit about that some other time. But it means eating consistently and not saving all of your calories for a mammoth large meal, multi-course large meal just before bed that then sits there, digesting in the first few hours of sleep. Right, so stay on top of your hunger. Plan your nutrition. So this is particularly important for those people that travel as part of their routine or part of their job. It's understanding what is likely to be available. Have you got stuff packed with you? If you're going out to restaurants with work or with friends, what's going to be available for you that supports your goals, rather than just going out and kind of throwing caution to the wind, having whatever it is available. It's having a plan for your nutrition. Now, it doesn't mean that you need a meal plan for everything that you eat, right? No one has the time for that, or very few people have the time for that. But it does mean just giving a bit of forethought to the next day, or the next meal, what is going to be available and what is going to help take you towards your goals rather than away from them. Eat organic. So there was a great study done that I read a few years back. I think it was done in 2010, maybe 2008, 2010. And it was looking at the micronutrient profile in spinach in 2010 versus post Second World War. And has to guess how many more micronutrients are in the spinach post Second World War? It was 52 times, right? So we are eating food that looks like the food that our grandparents were eating, but it is very, very different, very, very different makeup. Okay. Now, organic just means that it has less pesticides. It has a greater micronutrient and phytonutrient profile. So where possible, always eat organic. It's going to give you the micronutrients that you need for the systems in your body to work efficiently. And again, if you're putting these under stress constantly because you're performing at a certain level, you need all the help that you can get from a nutritional, energetic perspective. Reduce simple sugars. And then 9 and 10 is to track your calories. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, Alex, I hate tracking calories. Tried it before, fallen off the bandwagon. It's just something else to do. Cool, right? I'm not saying that you have to track every single day. In fact, a lot of my clients don't. I don't track every single day. What I do is encourage a dual track approach where if you can, if you're in control and able to, track your calories, right? But if you're going out for meals, if you're going out to restaurants, if you're not able to track for whatever reason, then it's about applying that more conscious mindset to your nutrition. And then using the principles of weekly calories. Now, again, tracking calories, it's like, Alex, do I have to do it? You know, I've tried it before and I struggle. You don't have to, right? But it's the equivalent of setting up a business and not looking at your business KPIs or your business metrics. Yes, you can make a profit, right? But you don't know how you've made it, right? You can't understand, if you don't make profit, what's caused it to break down. So tracking calories allows and gives you much more visibility into what's going right with your nutrition and then what's going wrong. And again, in another study, this was a large scale study, a number of people were asked to just guess how many calories that they were eating. And on average, people said that they thought they were eating about 1,800 calories. And in reality, they were eating close to 3,000. So we are not very good in general at guessing how much we eat. So how do we get around that? Well, we track calories and we use the principle of weekly calories. So if you want to go out, the weekend, you want to eat or drink a little bit more, right? That means maybe in the week, you pull back a little bit. And that means that you can still enjoy yourself. You can still have the meals and the foods that you want and still come Monday morning, step on the scales and be however much lighter, right? So that's the principle of weekly calories. So the last two parts of physical capacity are sleep. And we want to be getting 7 hours plus of quality sleep. And to help with that, we want to do two things, right? Reduce blue light exposure in the evening, right? The blue lights from the lights that we have in the house, in the office, they contain blue light that is 4 times more powerful than that of the sun. And what that does is, imagine when you wake up in the morning, the reason you wake up in the morning is it gets lighter, right? As long as you're not relying on an alarm or something, right? The reason you would naturally wake up in the morning is because it gets lighter and the blue light from the sun hits your body, hits your eyes, and that causes a small drop of cortisol, the stress hormone in the body, and that sets in place a number of metabolic reactions that then wake you up. Now, the blue lights at home are 4 times more powerful than that of the sun at that point in time. So what's happening is it's telling your body, hey, it's the middle of the day. It's the middle of the day. You need to get up. You need to keep going. Right? You need to stay awake. And that stops the production of nighttime hormones like melatonin, like serotonin. And that can lead to, if it's done consistently and for years and years, it can lead to sleep imbalances. It can even lead to autoimmune, autodegenerative diseases later in life, right? So the other part here is to what I call download your brain, or think about, who are you taking to bed, right? Who's going with you? And I don't mean your partner. What I mean is, which version of you are you taking to bed? Are you taking the stressed out person that's been thinking about all the things that they've got to do, trapped in a state of stress and fear? And you're taking that from your conscious mind to your subconscious mind and downloading that brain? Or are you able to take some of the reflections from the day out by writing, by thinking, by meditating perhaps? And then the version of you, the conscious mind that you take to bed has downloaded all of that crap, right? So you're a much cleaner version of yourself. You're not taking that kind of negative energy with you. And then the download from conscious to unconscious mind is much more positive. It doesn't have that emotional baggage attached to it. And then the final thing is to track sleep patterns. So for anyone that doesn't have an Oura ring, I really, really recommend these to all of my clients. Fantastic bit of kit that looks at sleep patterns. It measures your heart rate variability. It measures your REM sleep, your deep sleep. And over time, it allows you to build up a pattern of how you sleep, and then allows you to optimize it, looking at recovery metrics, etc. So that's sleep. And the final part of physical capacity then, which is this base level of the pyramid, is recovery. Now, recovery has 5 key principles: hydration, which we've talked about, movement, which we've talked about, changing channels mentally, which just means every 90 to 120 minutes, you're going to actually change what you're working on, right? So you're not doing the same task for longer than 90 to 120 minutes. Now you might say, Alex, yeah, but I've got this big presentation to do and I need to get it done by tomorrow. If you're in that situation, sometimes you have to disregard this. But as a general rule, You want to make sure that actually that focused, intense work is done for 90 to 120 minutes, and then you change channels, you go and do something else. And if you do this over time, you get more done, right? The last two bits here are to eat light, right? So you're not putting loads of pressure onto the digestive system and taking energy and focus away from your mental capacity. And then refusing to live in a prolonged negative emotional state. And we'll talk about this in a little bit more detail when we get to the next section. So that's the base level of the high performance pyramid. And when you do take care of yourself from a physical perspective, right, you free up energy and enthusiasm and passion to take care more for other people. So you're not just looking after yourself, right? It's not a selfish act. You are actually caring for other people by investing time, effort, energy, and resources into yourself. So number two, the second level up, emotional capacity. And this is to get you feeling, right? Thoughts from the mind, feelings in the body, feeling in a state of calm, focus, and confidence each day. Now, if you've ever experienced a positive emotional state, you'll know that it gets you into flow and it gives you energy. If you've experienced negative emotions, because they are a lower vibration, right? Emotion, energy in motion, all emotions have a vibration attached to them. So the negative emotions has a lower vibrational state, and that causes a loss or a detraction in energy. Right? It takes up mental and emotional energy. And over time, a consistent low-level anxiety or consistent negative emotions will actually lead to negative health outcomes, right? And studies have proved this time and time again. Increase in blood pressure, increase in resting heart rate, and increase in overall heart rate, right? Increase in cortisol levels. Now, if you consistently feel these negative emotions and consistently have these health-related indicators, now they can lead to worse health outcomes, like disease later in life, right? Years and years and years spent in these negative emotional cycles. These can lead to, studies are starting to come out that show these links between certain diseases later on in life. So how can you start to improve your emotional state? Well, the first one is when there's tasks that cause you stress, right? And stress for me is just a fear of not having enough time to complete a given set of tasks or a task, or a fear of not having enough resources available to complete certain tasks. That stress, and this is predominantly in the workplace, right? That stress can be reframed into an inner state, looking at it as a challenge, right? And that just causes you, or that means to do this, you have to pattern interrupt. Have to actually stop yourself from being in this kind of thinking, feeling cycle, have to pattern interrupt. And rather than thinking, oh my God, I've got so much to do, I'm never going to get this done. How am I going to finish? My boss is telling me that I need to do this. I know that I need to do that. I've got to pick the kids up later. How am I going to do that? It's actually taking a step back and starting to look at the dialogue of how good will it feel when I've got all of the things done that I need to do? What can I deprioritize or delegate? This is a challenge. Who else could do this challenge? No one else could get this done in this amount of time. I'm going to really tackle this head on, right? I'm going to do exactly what I need to do, right? So it's just starting to connect emotionally to that sense of drive again, rather than kind of allowing yourself to stay in that state of stress, pattern interrupting, and then reframing the situation, right? And again, it's like going to the gym, right? This is a muscle. You're trying to train your emotional senses, right? It's not going to happen overnight. But if you do this consistently, stress markers start to go down, right? And positive emotional markers start to go up. Now, the second tool here is a number of tools that form a system, And we're going to talk about this system in a bit more detail, but there's 3 parts to this, right? Setting the frame in the morning, so setting your emotional state in the morning so that you feel an 8, 9, 10 out of 10, as opposed to maybe a 5 or a 6, right? Pattern interrupting in the day. So whatever causes you to feel negative emotions, as I said, pattern interrupting them so that you don't allow yourself to stay in that state for a prolonged period of time. And then reflecting on any feelings that have come up during the day in the evening. And you can do that either via meditation, you can do that by journaling, or you can just do it by having a little bit of quiet time in the evening. And again, you know, you might be sat there thinking, Alex, quiet time, meditation, I don't have time for that. You know, I've got 2, 3, 4 kids, and I've got this job to do, and I've got a husband. Cool, that might be the case. But, right, if this is something that you want to focus on, you want to get a handle on, and you want to be able to show up for your kids in the way that you want to as their role model, and you want to be able to show up to work as a high performer, you will find 5 minutes. You can find 5 minutes, right? It's you telling yourself that you can't, that keeps you stuck. You think that it's this big problem that you need to solve. And actually, if you just reframe it as like a 5-minute solution, I need to find those 5 minutes. I'm going to find those five minutes. Where do I find them? Then actually, you start to put in place a small system that you can then build upon that will start to address these problems. So number 3, going up the pyramid, mental capacity. And this includes focus. This includes time management, diary management, and driving towards positive outcomes. So some of the tools here are meditation. Now in the East, they have about 50 different words for meditation. In the West, we just call it meditation, right? So the types of meditation that we can consider here is heart focus meditation, which kind of bridges the gap between mental and emotional. That's just getting into your heart center and feeling certain feelings. Now we've measured this, or the guys over at Heart Math Institute have measured this. Your heart has an electromagnetic field of up to 9 meters, right? So getting into your heart, the seat of your emotional center, you can start to align it to your head, right? The brain waves in your head. So your heart, the electromagnetic field from your heart, and the brain waves in your brain are aligned. So that's one of the types of meditation. Another type of meditation is what we call future pacing or visualization meditation. That's starting to think of certain outcomes, define certain outcomes, and then thinking, how do you get there? Starting to visualize the steps in which you have to go through, and then how you're going to feel at each stage. So again, you're aligning that thinking, feeling loop. We'll talk about a few more when we talk about the system and how to put that in place. Now, we've talked about 90 to 120-minute task slots, which allow you to focus your energy on a given task. So when you're not in meetings and you've got to prepare slides, you've got to do a certain set of tasks, 90 to 120 minutes is the maximum that you should sort of focus on one task. And the way I like to do this is I set myself 25 minutes pure focus, and then 5 minutes I'll get up, walk around, maybe go to the toilet, prepare for whatever's next. And then if I'm doing the same task for up to 2 hours, I'll come back for the next 25-minute slot, right? That allows me to focus, and in that 2-hour period, be much more efficient and productive than if I was to try and work through the whole time, right? Because our minds are not meant to focus for that long, right? They struggle to do it. Now, you can train them to focus for longer, right? But efficiently and productively focusing, what I found is 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, up to a 2-hour period, and then change the task, change the channel. When you're putting in meetings, there's a couple of rules that I like to get my clients to do that help to improve their performance, starts to increase the amount of boundaries that they've got, and it improves their overall mental capacity. And that is 20 or 50-minute meetings, right? Meetings fill the time that we allow for them. So rather than having a half an hour or an hour meeting and going straight into the next one, free up 10 minutes to write up the notes, the actions, or just to allow yourself to go to the toilet, go and make a quick cup of tea, right? It allows you to be more efficient and frees up some time so that you can mentally recharge for the next session. The 80-20 rule as well, looking at your diary and saying what proportion of your time is spent or aligned to pushing your agenda, and what percentage of your time is aligned to pushing someone else's agenda, right? And it should be 80-20. Most people, it's actually the opposite. When I look at their diaries and we go through each of the meetings, 20% of the time is spent aligning their agendas, 80% is spent going to other teams, project meetings, one-to-ones with other directors or leaders in the business, where they might not actually have something that they want to drive. So it's starting to look at which meetings do you go to where you can actively drive your agenda or your team's, your function's agenda, your objectives, as opposed to someone else's. And that will start to give you more clarity of thought. Now, if you're struggling to do that, a great tool for this is the Eisenhower matrix, invented by President Eisenhower. It separates tasks into meetings, time into 4 quadrants. And the ones that you're looking at are not the do ones, the ones to keep, but the ones to delegate, right? And this is done on urgency and importance, this matrix, I should say. The ones that you're looking for, the quadrants that you're looking for, are the ones to delegate. What tasks can you get off your plate, right? That you can put into a system or a process that someone else can do other than you. And the ones that you just don't do, right? What are you doing that, and we've always done it that way, right? This is just a business process that has to happen. Really being critical and asking yourself, is that the case, right? So what we're trying to do here with these kind of 2 is free up more of your time, introduce more boundaries, so that you've got more critical time to think, right? Most successful professionals that I've worked with, they spend a lot of time doing, right-centered brain. They don't spend enough time thinking, or they don't have enough time, they don't create enough time to think, to strategically think. And the last part is visualization. So this is a principle that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and it's called future pacing or reprogramming the mind. And if we think of the mind as a piece of software, the neurons in the mind, those neurons, there's a neurological principle that those neurons that fire together, wire together. And when you fire together repeatedly, you form a network of neurons, right? Now, those network of neurons can be considered a motorway of the mind. They're the easiest way for messages to get from A to B. And by the time we're 30, 95% of that is pre-programmed, right? So our personality or our personal reality is a pre-programmed bundle of neurons, or a software that we have running consciously and unconsciously in our mind. And the funny thing about that program or that software is that it's based on our past, right? Most people base it on their past, right? So you might wake up in the morning and you'll put on your underwear, you put on your socks, you'll brush your teeth, you'll go and have breakfast with the kids, and you'll do everything in a repeatable pattern as to how you've always done it based on past experience. So you can say that actually you're living in a past present reality. And if that past is causing you stress, if that past is making you feel or think a certain way, you're always conditioning that into your mind. Now, the alternative is to live in what we call a future present reality, which just means looking at the future, having a defined vision of the future, thinking about that, and having an emotional connection to that, and actually reprogramming the mind. Now, the mind doesn't know, the mind's a great, fantastic tool, but it doesn't know the difference between reality and something that it perceives as reality. If you don't believe me, go and watch some video on YouTube of someone getting stabbed in a fake arm with a fork, and you still feel it, right? You still think that you feel it. So if you are able to vividly picture the reality, the personal reality that you want to bring towards you, want to step into, and you're able to emotionally connect to that, you're able to program your mind into what we call a future present reality. And that means programming the subconscious mind as well, the 90% of the mind that is kind of below the surface, to expect certain things in the future to happen because you've thought and you've felt it, right? And so that subconscious goes to work with part of the brain called the reticular activating system, and it looks for means and ways for you to achieve that reality. So a very, very powerful tool that, if you can start to put this into a system, allows you to start to think and feel in new ways bringing in new opportunities. So final level here, right? We're at the final one, which is your energetic capacity. And this is designed really for me to move people from a state of motivation to, which is external focus, needing to have willpower or be motivated by an external goal, and taking that into a state of inspiration, being motivated by an internal sense of purpose, being internally focused. Now, the second one is much more powerful. It's much more resilient and it's much more stable. Right? Motivation comes and goes. Inspiration just stays with you, right? It does not go anywhere. When you're inspired to take action, right? How do these women, for example, that their kids are trapped underneath a car? How do they lift the car up? Well, they're inspired to take action because no other eventuality can happen. They have to save the kid. Right. So we're trying to leverage this concept and move from a state of motivation to inspiration. Some of the tools. So creating clarity, and this is just because this is the top of the pyramid, this is something that it's hard to do this section perhaps on your own, right? I'm going to talk through some of the concepts and I will talk through some of the tools, but actually moving this section is perhaps the hardest to do on your own. But these are some of the tools that I will use to coach my clients with, and that is creating clarity over your personal vision. Now, we do this from a work perspective quite often, defining business goals, vision, objectives, but how often do we do this from a personal perspective? So this is about defining your personal vision, your personal reality, and then aligning the things that matter most to you to that vision, right? So you define the North Star of the vision. What do you value most in life? And how does achieving that vision serve each and all of your values? So becoming conscious to that. So you're starting to put into your brain, I want to achieve this. And if I do, it's going to mean this for my family. So, for example, if I get in shape and lose 20 pounds, this is just a physical item, right? It's going to mean that I'll have more energy to show up with my kids and play with them after work. It's going to mean that I can actually show up as a role model and encourage them to also lead a healthy, prosperous and a long life, right? It might mean that I can show up with more energy and focus at work and get more done in less time. So we're starting to define this outcome that we want and link it to all of the things that we value the most. And then the most important part here is understanding what your beliefs are, what you hold to be true about yourself, your self-identity perhaps, and then shifting those beliefs, right? Sometimes the biggest limiting factor to any transformation is your self-identity or who you view yourself as. And we all do have beliefs, and some of those beliefs are self-limiting beliefs. So they limit the amount to which we can actually achieve something or transform into something, become someone. So we need to work out what those beliefs are, make them conscious, and then start to, using systematic protocols over time, start to shift those beliefs, right? Move the limiting beliefs out of the way and reframe them into positive, empowering beliefs. So this is bringing it all together now. This is the bit that, we said at the beginning, what do you want to take away from this? This is what you can take away as the actual tools to put into a morning, day, and evening routine. So this is just an example of a routine. This is maybe what some of my clients might do, for example. This isn't necessarily my routine. I might do something just a little bit longer than this. But this is something that you can put together. You can maybe start with kind of just 10 minutes, right? And then build it into a system. I'm just going to go through some of the tools. So the morning routine, we've got morning movement. We talked about the importance of movement, getting rid of the waste, starting to increase your testosterone, reduce your cortisol. So from a physical capacity perspective, then going up the pyramid, emotional capacity, cold showers. Right? There's a number of health benefits associated with cold showers. Generally in the UK, in winter months, the average Brit spends about 12 minutes outside. And so cold showers actually keep the body living as it's supposed to live, with extreme temperatures, hot and cold, not just warm. Okay. It also can improve immune system, But we're using it here because when you get in a cold shower, there's certain emotions that come up, like, fuck, I need to get out of this. This is fucking cold, right? And what we're trying to do is, like, you've got two options at that point. Either you get out or you say, I'm going deeper, right? So what we're doing here is we're training you emotionally to not to, at the first sign of difficulty, not to kind of give up, but to actually be resilient and continue to go further. So that's why we do cold showers. And also they're a great tool for energizing yourself. So when you come out of a cold shower, you are ready to go. I had a cold shower this morning before I did this, and it woke me up a lot more than my morning coffee does. My movie or affirmations. So this is starting to use words that convey certain feelings or emotions, right? And start to align your emotional capacity and your mental capacity. So my movie might be, my movie is a collection of 20 different images with sentences associated to them, defining what I'm going to achieve in my life. So for example, becoming a property investor, owning a vineyard, being a resilient father, right? Thinking that there is less that I know than I do know. Right? I meditate daily. All of the things in my life that I want to achieve or do or am, put that into a mind movie, right? That I look at daily. And this is helping me visualize, we talked about this before, right? This is helping me visualize a future and emotionally connect to that future. And so that bridges the gap between sort of mind movie and then visualization meditation, which is maybe doing something similar, defining 1, 2, 3 different outcomes and thinking and feeling about what it would be like to get there, the steps that's needed to get there, but doing that consistently. Again, like going to the gym. When you go to the gym at first, do some bicep curls, you're not going to get massive biceps overnight, right? You have to go and do it consistently, build up that muscle. It's the same with visualization meditation. But when you do it, you are priming your subconscious mind to help pull you towards that given goal. So throughout the day, this is just kind of 2 to 5 minutes. And so the morning routine is just going to take 20 minutes, right? No longer than 20 minutes. Haven't got the time for anything longer. 20 minutes is all it takes to get yourself in a peak performance state, ready for the day. So throughout the day, we've got the anytime, anywhere exercise framework, which outside of defined exercise sessions, I get my clients to set up. It's something simple, right? But no one really does this. And it's simple. And this is a lot easier if you're working from home. It's a little bit more difficult if you're working in an office, right? But if you are working from home, or when you are working from home, setting up 2 or 3 stations that when you go to a certain place in the house, you do 5 press-ups, 10 burpees, 20 squats, right? So I've got 3 stations in my house. And if I go to past those stations, one is to the kettle to make a cup of tea, I'm going to do 10 burpees, right? So I will probably have 2 cups of coffee, 2 or 3 cups of tea. That's 40 to 50 additional burpees that I get done every single day. And again, if you think about 5 days a week that I'm generally working, maybe sort of 6, that is just trying to do the maths. Let's say 40 or 50, let's say 50 burpees a day, 5 days a week. That is an additional 250 burpees that I've done every single week. And again, extrapolate that out for a month. So exercise doesn't have to be this hour or 45-minute slot. It can be the 2 or 3 minutes whilst you're waiting for the kettle to boil. It can be on the way to the toilet, right? Doing 20 squats as you're underneath the door frame, probably after the toilet, for obvious reasons. So this is, again, leveraging the anytime, anywhere framework and making sure that throughout the day, you're just energizing yourself a little bit more. You're getting that boost of endorphins, right? But you're also like improving your physical capacity. Pattern, interrupt, and reframe. We talked about this, refusing to live or keep yourself sustained in a period of emotional stress for any prolonged period of time, taking yourself out of that situation and then coming back. Time box certain activities, manage your energy levels and replan. So one of the things that I like to do and get all of my clients to do is plan for the day a day ahead, right? So you're downloading your brain, all of the things that you're thinking about, not taking that version of you to bed. You've then got a plan for the next day. But sometimes life happens, right? Personal or professional stuff will come in and crash that. So replanning is having structured points throughout the day to replan your activities. So if something's moved to the right, what can you stop and maybe not do at all? Or what can move to the next day? What do you have to get focused? What do you have to get done in that afternoon period, right? So replanning and making sure that you feel in control of your day and the day doesn't get away with you. And then the final part, so bringing this full turn, the evening routines. Now we've talked about the downloading your day, and you can do this via journals. You can do this via meditation, planning the next day. And the final one is breath work, right? So from an emotional perspective and also from a spiritual perspective or spiritual capacity, energetic perspective, breath work is fantastic for bringing you or giving you more energy, right? But I would probably use breath work in that sense for giving me energy, either in the morning or throughout the day. If I was layering that in as an activity, something like Wim Hof breathing. If I was using breath work to calm myself down, right, going from a state of being on to off, so sympathetic to parasympathetic dominant, I might use something called like box breathing or 4-7-8 breathing. So box breathing is just inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 7 seconds, out for 8 seconds, hold for 4 seconds, and then you repeat that cycle, right? So this is going to calm your central nervous system down, move you to a place where you're ready for sleep. So it's effectively lowering your energetic frequency. So this is how breath work can be used to increase or lower your energetic frequency. So 45 minutes, bringing it all together, giving you the tools within the high performance pyramid that when done consistently allows you to look, feel and perform better for a longer period of time. And look, this isn't just something that I talk about, right? There is there's a method in the madness, and I want to go through, you know, some of the benefits that some of my clients have got from this system specifically. So busy sales director over in the US, client Tom, he lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks implementing this system, but then also put in place much better boundaries with his work. He was able to get more done in less time as we worked through his diary and his schedule. And as he had more energy, he could focus more on the task that he had to complete, having a much better understanding of the priorities. But also, because he bought more time back, that allowed him to focus that attention into things that he valued and drive improved relationships with his kids. And you can see there just some of his graphs looking at his overall weight loss, for example. So yes, he lost 20 pounds in 12 weeks. Yes, he also kept it off for 6 months and ongoing because he had this system and blueprint in place. So this isn't like this is a diet plan, for example, the physical capacity part. This is a system that works ongoing. Nick lost 21 pounds in 12 weeks. He also freed up time to start a profitable side hustle, which is something that he really wanted to do. And he achieved a consistent and sustainable new level of performance mastery. You can see there in his testimonial where he said he's achieved more in 12 weeks than he has throughout all of the years, jumping from plan to technique, from previous courses or reading books, self-help books. This system works, right? And Nick, it's not just me saying that, right? This is coming from a client here, a senior manager that has put it into practice on Reignite Pro. And then Amar. Amar's father of two, just turning 40, wanted to get physically into shape, but also wanted to derive broader performance, more holistic performance goals. So what did he do? Well, he lost 14 pounds of stone in 12 weeks, right? You could argue he didn't have loads of kind of weight to lose from the picture on the left, but physically got in much better shape, increased a lot of number of fitness markers, and that allowed him to have more energy. And as he started to as he started to focus on the physical aspects, that allowed him then to also perform better in, as he said here, all areas of his life, performance at work, having more energy, and therefore creating more time for his family. And one of the things that he did with that was launch a new business. And he said at the bottom, it's been life-changing, right? Because we're not just focusing on one element, the physical element, we are focusing across the board with this system on physical, mental, emotional, and energetic levels. So wrapping it all up, final sort of part here is like when people feel strong and resilient physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically, they look better, they feel better, and they perform better. And when you win, your families will win also, right? When you win, your families will win also. But not just that, the businesses or corporations that employ them will employ you, right? Or if you're running a business, your business will directly benefit as well. So that just about wraps it up for this training on the high performance pyramid. This has been the A system or the system that over the last 4 years that I found generates not only results in the short term for 12 weeks, but results that allow you to take that system for the next 12 years plus, right? 12 weeks to 12 years. That's what I say to clients. And, you know, a number of the people that have just gone through a testament to that. So maybe you're watching this and thinking, look, this is a great system. I'm gonna look to integrate or implement this into my daily life. But maybe you're sat here thinking, actually, look, I'd like to get there a bit faster. I'd like some accountability. Or maybe I've tried some of this in the past and I failed. I just need some help. So if that's the case, please do go ahead and book a 15-minute open and honest conversation with me. Please do put your credit card away though, because this isn't that kind of call. It's not a sales call. In fact, during that call, you won't even be able to join my program, Reignite Pro. All this is for us, or giving us a chance to connect and for you to ask a few questions about the system and for me to help, I guess, understand how we can apply it bespokely to your unique situation and your specific goals. So this has been the high performance pyramid. Thank you for watching, and I will see you on another training sometime soon. Take care.